For Democrats, this isn't about Hillary. This is about winning the White House and getting a candidate who's not going to have problems like this. And to think that it's just going to go away, well, it's not. And so this is exactly what the Democrats don't need right now. And it just seems that it would be so simple to make this go away.
All right, folks, joining us now is Dana Milbank, columnist, of course, for the Washington Post. Dana, welcome back, sir. Appreciate it.
It's good to be with you.
All right, is Ed Schultz right? I mean, would it be easy to make Hillary go away?
Well, would it be easy to make Hillary go away or make Hillary's problems go away? I mean, they're two different questions. It's certainly not going to be easy to make Hillary go away.
I think he's talking about, yeah, right, I think he's talking about making her go away because he said the problem's not going away. So what did the Democrats do? You wrote a great piece at the Washington Post talking about the fact that, many top Senate Democrats and others are not so, as you put it, fired up about Hillary Clinton.
No, they're not, and I think there's a bit of buyer's remorse because there's a sense that, well, they've already, essentially the party's already made its choice before the primary season really even begins. The other, viable alternatives, Elizabeth Warren clearly isn't planning to run, and Joe Biden would like to run but sees no path because of the Clinton candidacy. And then you've got people like Martin O'Malley and Jim Webb who don't seem to be in a position to give her any sort of a serious run. So they feel like, for better or worse, Clinton is their candidate, and I think a lot of Democrats are now, just wondering how much damage will be inflicted on her, and will she still be strong enough? I mean, it should be a good Democratic year next year based on the way things are going, but that only works if you've got a solid candidate.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I've heard different answers. Lanny Davis had no answer for me. He came on with me right after Hillary's presser. The head of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, said there is no law that says, why couldn't Hillary have one device, like I have my BlackBerry, and I have 3 email accounts on it? Why her excuse was she didn't want to carry 2 phones. Since when do you need 2 phones for two email accounts? Do you know the answer to that definitively?
Yeah, no, that's not terribly clear to me. I mean, a lot of people do that. Now, of course, you wind up accidentally sending something from one account to the other account. But, most people I know who work at a certain level in government walk around with 2 phones, and I make fun of them for it, but that's what they have to do. So, Clinton herself said, in retrospect, that's what she should have done. I think it's kind of dubious that she couldn't have seen this sort of problem coming up.
All right, let's move on. Your piece also about the Republican senators, the 47 who signed the letter to Iran, and very clever piece, a very, very informative piece, and very well written in your style about the GOP senators appear set on, as you put it, their own breakaway nation, or at least the headline writer saw it that way. And you talk about how the Daily News front page called them traitors, and others, like Hillary, weighed in on it at the beginning of her press conference, kind of implied as much in what she said. But and you went on to talk about how they could actually form their own kind of government, which I did find entertaining. But let me ask you this: what about Nancy Pelosi going to Syria? What about Ted Kennedy writing to the Soviet Union, seeking help in defeating Reagan in return for something from him? What about the letter, the Dear Commandante letter written to Daniel Ortega, signed by the then Majority Leader of the House and 9 others, Jim Wright? I mean, the press is acting and the left is acting like this never happened before, when it's happened multiple times and Democrats have been guilty.
Well, I mean, it depends on what it is here. So, look, I think anybody who's now, shocked that politics doesn't stop at the water's edge, hasn't been paying attention for the last 20 years because, politics, crossed the oceans a very long time ago. So I don't think it's not as if this is the first time politics has been injected into international affairs. I think this is another step beyond all of those things you're talking about, because this is, 47 of 54 Republican senators. So this is basically the majority of the Senate speaking in one voice, moving doing in a very specific way to undercut the executive. And so I think it's by matter of degree that it doesn't have a precedent. But
so you're saying by sheer numbers. When you say degree, you mean sheer numbers. So Ted Kennedy, one of the most powerful men in the Senate at that time, writing to the Soviet Union to interfere with the '84 election, to try to help them to make Reagan look bad, so they could kick Reagan out of office, or the Senate, the Congress people, including the majority leader of the House, sending a letter, Dear Commandante, to Noriega because they disagreed with Reagan's policy towards Nicaragua. I mean, just because it was 10 and not 47, there's no analogy to be made?
Well, I mean, you can analogize anything. I think that what we're talking about here is you can always find somebody in any party who's going to do something off the wall. So if you told me that Ted Cruz and 4 or 5 others in the Senate had signed this letter, I don't think anybody'd be talking about it. What's amazing is that only 7 of the 54 didn't, and serious grown-ups like Mitch McConnell and John McCain were among those. So I don't think that anything that we've seen previously really comes close to this. That's not to say there aren't a long history, at least in the last 20 years, of politicians meddling in unnecessary ways in international affairs.
Who do you see emerging from the Republican field, if you're going to even before anybody announces? Who do you think has the best shot right now? We got about a minute left.
I just think with the Republicans, they always seem to settle on the obvious, which in this case is going to be Jeb. They're going to go through the flirtation with Walker. They'll probably do it with each of the others, just like happened last time and the previous time. And then ultimately, they always seem to wind up with the obvious guy who's sort of everybody's second choice.
That's going to be interesting. I hope you're wrong as a Republican conservative.
I hope I'm wrong as somebody who would like an interesting race to cover and not another Bush-Clinton race.
Yeah.
I want
Dana, great
Rand Paul versus Elizabeth Warren.
Well, that would be very interesting too, and I think the Republicans might be able to win that one. But anyway, thanks for your time. I hope you come back soon. Thank you, sir.
Sure, my pleasure.
Take care. Dana Milbank, ladies and gentlemen, of the Washington Post. Okay, a lot to digest just from that interview alone that we could talk about with the, infamous, however you look at it, Malzberg panel, which is coming up next by coincidence. So stick around right here on Newsmax Television.